I am so excited about our next guest. Have never had him on the show before. Very much looking forward to this. An absolute legend from the world of professional wrestling, and someone, if you ever hear people do interviews about wrestling, about the time in which he was a superstar in WWF and WCW, speak so highly of him as an opponent, as a colleague, as a dance partner, whatever you want to say. And it does really feel like over the years, he has gotten his flowers. He has gotten the respect and admiration that he has earned and deserved as well. He was once known as the Lightning Kid, then the 1-2-3 Kid, X-Pac, Six, many other monikers. Today, he's just Sean Waltman, a two-time WWE Hall of Famer, an absolute legend of the game, and he is kind enough to join us right here and now on the program. Hello, Sean. How are you? It's great to have you on the show.
Ariel, thank you so much, man. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. I know you don't do a ton of interviews, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't really anymore, but hey, people don't probably know that I had a podcast for a while, and you were nice enough to come on mine. I appreciated that, man.
Yeah, that was about 3 or so years ago.
It was a while.
I was blown away that the great Sean Waltman would want me on his show. So I always wanted to have you back on, and this felt like a good time. And you know what? Off the top, if I can, I actually wanted to apologize to you. I feel like throughout my career, a few times in trying to convey a point, I have been guilty of using the term X-Pac heat in a somewhat negative light, and I don't think that's fair or right to you because your legacy is. So I want to apologize. I don't use that anymore because I actually think maybe one time I upset you when I used it. It's possible. I may have seen a tweet. So anyway, I just want to say I apologize if I offended you, and I don't like using that because you deserve better than that.
Oh, that's stop. I'm not that. I'm pretty thick-skinned, Ariel, and plus, honestly, the term was appropriate at the time. I mean, we don't like. When it's about us, we don't really want to hear it or whatever. But I'm cool with it. Matter of fact, I got a website. I haven't used it yet, but the domain xpacheat.com.
Oh wow!
I might use it for something.
Really? Who came up with that term? Do you remember when it started?
I have no idea. The people. The people online or in the whatever.
All right. Well, I'm happy that you're in a good place with the term, but I did want to say that. How are you doing in life? From afar, it seems like you're very happy. You've got your dog, your cat. You're in a relationship. It seems like you're healthy. You're content. How is life treating you these days?
Well, man, I couldn't ask for a better life, Ariel. Especially, I mean, a lot of people know, I had a really rough patch of my life. Like over probably a dozen years or so, maybe even more. I was just in a real dark place and just constantly, in the news for all the wrong reasons. And so, when I finally got it, finally got this thing figured out, seems like. So, life is great. I've been married for 5 years. Buster, my dog, my best friend, I take him hiking all the time. It's just, but life is great, man. My wrestling and personal life, business stuff is balanced perfectly right now.
I love to hear that. Can I ask, when you say like you were in a dark place, how did you turn things around? How did you get back on the right path? What was the turning point for you?
Well, just like a lot of other people, you keep trying and keep falling down, and people get tired of helping. After they've tried and they've done their turn at helping you. Like I kind of almost ran out of all those people, and luckily, I just happened to be ready to do this. And I have dear friends now, Marie Menounos and her husband Kevin Undergaro. They kind of took me into their world, and got me set up with all the podcasting stuff and just. Around all of their people, and it was exactly what I needed, and I was ready for the help, and I took full advantage of it.
Yeah, there was obviously a time where it was like getting a little scary, right? Where I had Lex Luger on the show recently, and he said that there was some odds out there that he would be the next pro wrestler to die young, and there were some headlines that were concerning for those that loved and followed you from afar. And so,
Yeah.
for you to be in this state in 2025, all these years later, perhaps there's a part of you that is a little surprised if you take yourself, back to those days, right? That you were able to make it, because a lot
Yeah.
of guys, as you know, don't.
Yeah. Because at some point, I just remember going like, what the hell is wrong with I just, am I ever going to get this? Because like I'm in a spot like in my head where I want it, but like, I'm just not quite there yet, and it's like, man, you feel like giving up, but I didn't. So
God bless. Well done.
yeah,
And as far as your relationship with pro wrestling now, we just saw you recently
yeah,
on TNA. You showed up at TNA Rebellion, which was a great spot. It was great to see you back in there, looking good, moving well.
thanks.
Was that a one-off with TNA? Obviously, we know about your history with them, some
Yeah.
20 or so years ago. But was that just a one-off with them, or are there more dates to come?
Well, those kids, I did that segment with the Rascals, Trey and Zach, and they have another guy, but he's in WWE, NXT, Wesley. Anyways, they like idolized me. Their gear, they would have their gear like inspired by mine, and just really good kids. And I knew that TNA was going to be here having a pay-per-view, and so I just hit Tommy Dreamer up in a DM, and I said, hey, if you guys wanted me to do something with the Rascals, I would be happy to do it, and so they came up with that, and I loved it. Man, I had a great time. It felt good.
Are there plans to do more with them?
Nah, that was it. They were in town, and I just want to give a little rub to the Rascals, and get in there and let people see I could still move around pretty good. Because it's tough when you see your heroes, and people you idolize, and they're not getting around good, like walking on a cane, and eventually I'll probably get to that point. But I just wanted people to see me, get a little nostalgia, but like and happy, see me moving around good.
How is your body doing these days?
It's pretty good, man. I mean, I'm beat up. I got torn pec, two torn bi, like a bunch of stuff, but I feel great. I walk around like I don't, got a little bit of arthritis here and there, but I have no right to feel as good as I do, Ariel, for all the damage I did to myself.
So you're 52 now, right? And you look
Yeah.
good in the ring. Afterwards, was there any part of you saying like, I got one more in me. I could do this?
I mean, probably. I mean, I could do it. Let's just put it that way. But it had to be the right, or something special. Like some kind of a pay-per-view event, or uh, something big. But I'm fine with just showing up and do something like that every now and then. And I don't really have the itch really bad like a lot of people get.
What was your impression just from the one night that you were there of TNA? Because it does seem like they're enjoying this renaissance. This relationship with WWE has helped them out a lot, and they're really getting back on track. Were you sensing that this was a ship moving in the right direction?
I felt like it, and it was nice to see, the talent and everybody involved. They were really upbeat, positive attitude everywhere. Watching everybody putting their things together, working out what they're going to do in their segments, everybody getting along great, and I'm sure it's not perfect there, but uh, they had a hell of a crowd there. It just feels really good when you're, a part of something like that and things are doing good.
I read recently, I believe it was in March, where a report came out saying that you were working with the WWE ID program. You were helping some of the up-and-comers go over matches and things like that. Is that in fact true? And could you tell specifically what you are doing with them?
Yeah, it is. Down at the Performance Center, when people come into the, get into the system down there and they're part of NXT, they have these things called skull sessions, and they're kind of like they do in like the NFL, like where, you study. It's like tape study, watching the footage of the game or however you want to put it, and just dissecting it, breaking it apart, and showing them where, yeah, hey, maybe you could have done this a little faster, maybe, just things like that. Um, and I do it over Zoom. And there's they got about, I want to say about 20, I want to say, I call them kids, but, some are, in their 30s. So, whatever. But they got a lot of really talented kids in that program. And, I do the coaching over Zoom. I don't have to move to Florida. So, yeah, it's great, man. I love it. I really get a lot out of it.
Is there a name or two that you can share with us from the program that you're very excited about, that you're very high on?
They're already on there's a show on Tubi called it's Evolve.
Yeah.
And they do it they do it at the PC, and it's in a little studio. It kind of reminds me of old Georgia wrestling when I used to watch it, so it's got a nice feel for me anyways. And like a lot of the ID kids are on that Evolve show. You got these kids, they're really young too. Swipe Right, Jackson Drake. There's some other kids that haven't been on Evolve yet. There's a kid named Sam Holloway, I think is going to do really well. Zeta Steel, she's part of the group on Evolve with Jackson Drake and Swipe Right. But I could go on and on, but there's a lot of talented kids out there, Ariel, tons, man. Like, it's crazy.
And WWE in itself is on fire. I'd love to ask you about WrestleMania. It has come and gone, and it was much talked about, the aftermath. How did you feel about the main event, the night 2 main event, how it was booked, Rock not showing up, Cena going over, the Travis Scott thing? I'd love to get your opinion.
Honest to God, it's the same thing that Steve Austin told you. I got out of there before the main event so I could beat the crowd.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm not trying to it wasn't ideal. I'm not, I don't want to get too much into it and step on too many toes. But I think a lot of people, were disappointed. Obviously,
have you enjoyed the Cena heel turn?
I did. I honestly, I never thought it would happen, Ariel. I mean, I thought he was going to retire, and it just never seemed like something he was going to do.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess we can nitpick and dissect it and talk about whatever we want as far as what they could do better or whatever, but
that's the fun. That's the fun. The Monday morning quarterback. Yeah. What did you prefer, heel or face, for yourself?
I liked it. I liked them both a lot. Honestly, man, there were times though, like as a heel, where I got to be a lot, because just like when you're a baby face and they're cheering you and you get all that positive, energy coming your way, it feels great. And man, if you don't watch it, like that, that's real negativity coming at you, especially at me back then. I mean, it was before the X-Pac heat thing where Ariel, they hated my guts over that Kane stuff. When I turned on Kane and then took his girlfriend, I mean, legit, people are still hot about that. So I mean, it was a lot, man. It was a lot, and you don't hear people talk about that kind of thing that much. So I was really good at being a heel. It just that can get to you sometimes.
Did it ever get uncomfortable? Like when you say it was a lot, did it ever cross over to where you're in the airport, you're at a restaurant, and people are taking it too seriously?
Yeah, and I didn't have I got a specific incident. There was something online, on Twitter, about how bad Philly sports fans can be. There was something incident where they were messing with a woman and calling her bad or whatever. Philly sports fans were in the news, and somebody else brought this up. And I had told the story before. I was leaving. I was coming out of the tunnel there with I had my kids and my wife with me, and the people Ariel, they started, I mean, the stuff they were saying to me in front of my kids, it triggered me. I blew a gasket. I hopped over the fence and like they all scattered. And I was like, dude, I'm glad like they, I mean, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Luckily they were scared because I mean, it could have been bad.
Wow.
But anyways, yeah, that happened.
Damn.
And yeah, people remember it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
Crazy enough, it was just brought to my attention this morning, and it wasn't really the reason why I wanted to have you on, but the timing is amazing. 32 years ago next week, anniversary of you defeating Razor Ramon as 1-2-3 Kid on Monday Night Raw. May 17th.
32.
Isn't that wild?
32 years. I'm just blown away. Like, I mean, I know we all talk about how fast time flies and everything, but I mean, it's just like that, man. It's all behind us. And that's the most important moment of my entire career. And there's not even a close second, Ariel. And like easily like one top 3 most important moments of my life, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
When you look at these photos, like what comes to mind? What are the emotions? What are the feelings?
Like that one there in particular, the 69 position.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just so grateful to Scott, and you hate to say like you take somebody for granted, especially one of your best friends, like a brother, but like I did, like his brilliance and just like he's gone and like all of that's gone now. Like you can't like, just as far as I'm concerned, he was the smartest guy in the car of the 5 of us. I mean, there might be somebody might dispute that, but that's how I felt. Like he was just brilliant, man. There's just not too many people in his league when it comes to that.
There's a book that's coming out in June called Say Hello to the Bad Guys. It's actually written by a very good friend of mine, Mark Ramundi, who works for ESPN, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he spoke to you a couple of times. I'm just about done. I'm like 85% done, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And of the many, I'm not going to give away too much. He did tremendous reporting for this book. It's really a great read. It comes out in June, like I said. But one of the takeaways, speaking of Scott, from the book, at least for me, was he was a brilliant team player as well. Like he didn't mind. He was very unselfish. He wanted to put people over. So the fact in retrospect that he would be the guy, because I would imagine there'd be some guys being like, I'm not going to lose to a guy named 1-2-3 Kid who's a quote unquote jobber, right? To the best of your knowledge, did he resist this at all? Did he push back on this idea?
No. It was actually the other way around. As soon as, Scott, got to be at a point where he's a heel and he's doing everything, right. As far as he's not trying to be a baby face, but people just loved him, and they couldn't wait. They were going to turn him on their own. So Vince saw that and, he wanted to, solve that problem, if you want to call it a problem. And, this was a great way to bring me in, introduce me and turn Razor Ramon babyface. And, thankfully I did my part. Like I was able to deliver on my part and take full advantage of that opportunity, man. Because that's about the best way I can. Well, let me just say this. Usually back then, this, Ariel, when they would introduce a new star, like it would just be the same old thing, right? Some vignettes and then some squash matches on TV, and then it's like go out there, get over. This is what I got, right? That was my introduction. Unbelievable, man.
Can I ask?
Unbelievable.
I love the behind the scenes stories. What do you remember from that day? Like when they told you this was happening, the feelings backstage, the nerves, if there were any. You're at Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. What could you tell us about that day that you remember?
Well, I was the one with all the nerves. I'm there bright and early, before just about anybody else was there. And the rest of the crew, they were coming in from out here on the West Coast. They took a red eye in, right from the red eye come right to the Manhattan Center. So everybody's dead. Everybody's just dead tired, Scott comes in and I'm all like happy. I got all these ideas, and I'm ready to share them with him. And, he just like looks over at Pat and he goes, Pat, what do you want me to do with him? With this? And he goes, just beat the shit out of him, and I move on something, and he gets you with something quick. You know, and I said moonsault. He goes, yeah, okay. And that was it, man.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So
I,
that's basically it. And Scott loved it. He loved the whole idea. He even Vince was even surprised that when he was laying this whole idea out, he goes, yeah, we got this kid. He's 150 pounds, soaking wet, and immediately Scott said, Lightning Kid. And Vince was like, you know him? And he goes, yeah, he's great. So, anyways.
at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, you got, we obviously know about the Click and whatnot years later, but
Yeah.
you weren't like best of friends back then, right?
Not at all.
Wow.
No, I didn't even know him. There was a little bit of a connection because I would hang out with Kurt Hennig. Like back in Minneapolis, we would all get together at the world famous The Gym in Plymouth. It was at the Road Warriors owned, and like started, and like everybody trained there, Ariel. Like it was just the place to go. You could walk in there, Jesse Ventura being there, and Wayne Bloom and Barry Darcy, just like all these guys. So I was in heaven, man, going there and just being around everybody and all these guys I looked up to. But Kurt was one of the guys that his mentality was to help out the younger guys. Big into that, passing on the knowledge and everything. And so we hung out a lot, and he was just really good to me. Matter of fact, Kurt, I was after my tryout the day after WrestleMania. I'm standing outside Vince's office, like waiting just to get Vince walk out and even just get eye contact with him or whatever, And Kurt walks up and he goes, "You want a job here?" And I was like, "Yeah, obviously." And he walked into the Vince's office and then walked back out, and Vince walks out, comes up, shakes my hand, and I was like,
wow.
So I don't know if Kurt actually said anything, but
But he was the one. So he's the one that deserves the credit that got you in.
Well, I mean, I would like to think my talent got me in.
Sure.
That kind of stuff didn't help, right? Or didn't hurt, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Are you surprised that no one's tried to recreate that moment? And maybe they have, but it's just obviously not worked the same way. Why is this remembered so fondly 32 years later? And there's been so many matches, so many opportunities, but it's never happened quite the same. Hey there. Sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. We've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show.
There have been times like they try to do something with Barry Horowitz and different people. Like I don't know, man. It was just that one hit just right, and like it had really not. I mean, I don't think it had ever really been done, especially on on that grand stage. Like there's been upset wins like the Mulkey brothers and Georgia when I was a kid, stuff like that, but. I don't know. It was just who it was that got beat, like how it happened, how he sold it, like just. And then I just think after that, I think it was, anytime there was going to be an upset, I think it was compared to that,
Oh my God, it's the most famous one of all time. No doubt about it.
I think so.
Absolutely,
yeah, I think so.
I remember where I was when it happened. I remember watching it. Also, 29 years ago this month, amazingly, the famous curtain call at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
You weren't actually there. Unfortunately, you were. I think you were in rehab at the time, right?
I was in rehab. My first stint in rehab. But I was like up to speed on everything. Scott would call me, while I was in there and show me everything that was going on.
Did they tell you beforehand that they were going to do this? Were you aware that this was happening later that night?
No. I don't even think they knew they were going to do it up until that night. Yeah, no, it wasn't mentioned to me. But I tell you what, man, excuse me. When Scott called me afterwards, I mean, he told me, like it was pretty heavy, and that, it was like he knew it was a big deal. Like, but they were they were going to be gone. And not really anything you could do to them.
Right. Even though Vince
Paul got the brunt of everything.
Vince kind of gave them the blessing, right?
Beforehand. But then once like the fallout happened and like all the boys, like, came down on Vince. I was like, I can understand him going, well, I mean, I know I said you could do it, but I didn't know you meant that,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Amazingly, regarding that, like there's like one grainy home video footage from
Yeah,
like far. If that happens today, there's a gazillion cameras. Like I always wondered if that
everywhere.
one guy didn't record that, if like the legacy of this story would have been the same. You know what I mean? If there was no visual evidence of it.
That's a good question. Yeah,
Because it was a house show.
yeah, and it was like like way up in the
Right.
the nosebleeds, right? And I don't know. I'm gonna tell you what though, like that existing really does help the legend of the curtain call.
Sure, sure. Well,
So
did you have FOMO? Like when you heard it happen, did you say, damn, I wish I was there?
I'm glad I missed out on that one, man.
You wanted nothing to do with it.
I mean, I would have been out, like, because I'd have been right up in there with them, So, yeah.
You had your
And then
fair
when
share.
I came back, so when I came back after my rehab, Vince brought me into Connecticut, and I sat outside for 3 hours waiting for the meeting, and brought me in and basically said, if you want to stay, we love you, but like you're gonna have to. Basically, he was telling me I'm gonna get the punishment just like Paul.
Wow.
And and then he said, or you can go. You think you can get a better deal for you and your family? I'll let you go down and work for that billionaire asshole, and I'll give you a week. Give you a week to decide. I mean, I knew right away, but it was still really tough. It was really tough to tell him, yeah, I want to leave.
Why would you get punished if you weren't involved?
Just because, man, guilt by association, and we were all like, that's how it was. Like, you the clique, you guys are all in trouble.
Right. Do you think
finally,
if that was never on the table, like the current call doesn't happen, yes, you're in rehab, but you come back, but there's no punishment to be had. Do you think you don't leave to WCW?
No, I leave.
You leave? The money was just too good?
Oh, yeah. The money, and just so I was at this point where, in my mind, and Vince looked at me a certain way. He liked me, like I was, the guy they could put anyone in there with, and have a great match and all that. But I just thought Vince, there was a ceiling for where Vince thought, like, I was, upwardly mobile up until that point or whatever. And I had to leave, Ariel, to get him to look at me in a different light, and to go down there and do what I did down there, which I'm grateful for. I got to do things with Ric Flair and all that stuff with the Horsemen, and just being part of the NWO, man. That was the biggest thing in wrestling, bar none. And so, like, all that really helped, man, when I came back. So,
Mark,
it worked.
There's some great reporting regarding the end of your time at WCW and the relationship with Eric Bischoff, and then you jumping back to WWE. When did you start to feel like this honeymoon is coming to an end? Because you only lasted around 2 years, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a point there where even when I wasn't scheduled for my dates, like on the road, like Scott was in a pretty bad way, and Eric would have me come and, like, on my days up, I was supposed to be at home. I'd be on the road babysitting Scott. I hate to use that term, but that was basically what they were, doing with me there. And I wouldn't even necessarily be in a match that night, So, that, and just, I don't know. There were other things. I was trying to get a raise, and I don't know. Just the situation, like the circumstances, like around, how I got fired. I was pissed. I was pretty pissed about it. So, and it was just the timing, Ariel. The timing. Sean was, dropping the title, and he was going to be gone, and they wanted to continue to do the DX thing, and so Paul, it was just really perfect timing. And Paul called me, and he was like, "Man, like, this is perfect. Come here and we'll do the DX thing," and yada yada yada. And I knew that was what, that was the plan. That was what I needed to do. And Kev and Scott and Eric, they'd smooth things over. And Eric was like, yeah, have Sean call me. And like, man, I already had my mind made up, honestly.
Your return was brilliant. That promo, the cut the mustard promo,
Mm,
legendary stuff. Did they really not know behind the scenes that you were going to talk about any of that? Hogan saying that Hall and Nash were being held hostage. They just let you with an open mic go out there and say whatever you wanted.
that's right.
Wow.
Yeah. This is what Ben said. I'm getting ready to go out there. I'm nervous too, you know. Because I don't know if people know this, some people do. I have a fear of talking in public.
Really?
So that was something that was something I dealt with like my whole career. Um, but Vince just said they're expecting, excuse me, they're expecting something big from you, give it to them. And so that was what I gave them, you know. Yeah, the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would be right here with us if they weren't being held hostage. Like they didn't know I was saying any of that. And
Wow.
you know, we got sued, right? We got sued over that. And I remember doing the deposition and, you know, they asked me, why did you say that? And I was like, well, I was on the phone with Kev the night before and he told me it would be a good idea if I said it. And it was like, Jesus Christ. You know, so.
What was the reaction when you came back after saying all of that?
Oh, yeah, I got the whole, you know, Vince gave me the big, you know,
Oh, he liked it.
thumbs up. Oh, yeah.
And how did the lawsuit end up? Did he get dismissed?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, nothing.
Um,
And like, you know, there's like clickbait headlines where, you know, X-Pac got sued. I was named in the suit. Like it wasn't just me out like
sure.
on an island all by myself getting sued and I have to defend against the big, you know, WCW.
Right.
I was taken care of.
I was saying at the top of the show that a lot of kids in the 90s, including myself, got in trouble at school for doing the crotch chop. But one thing I've always wondered, there's the X one, and then there's the one like this, right? Which one do you prefer? Which one are you more a fan of? Because there's two different versions.
You know, this is the one, like, I was the one that started doing that. And I started doing it before I went to WCW. You could see it a little bit here and there. And it was just like this, you know. They just changed it to this, obviously, for DX, and like I'm fine either way. Either way, it's good. But the number one thing, Ariel, that I get told when I meet somebody in the street or anywhere, is when I was like in the third grade or however in middle school, I got suspended for doing, you know, some variation of that. Like that's the number one thing, man. And there's not even like just like the moment for where I beat Scott, you know, the 1, 2, 3 kid moment being the number one moment and not even a close second. Same for this.
I love it.
Same for this. Not even a close second.
And it's amazing. Like you'll see like pro athletes doing it now. Joel Embiid was doing it. Like when you see it still being a thing in 2025, what do you think of that?
I'm just grateful to have been a part of all that, man. You know, and have left that kind of an impact, you know, on people. You know, that's there's a certain age group there that, like you said, man, they all got suspended in school and everything, and it's just really cool, man, to be remembered. And you know, there's a lot of great wrestlers out there like that work their ass off and you know for years, man, and even successful, but don't get remembered like that, you know. And so I'm really grateful.
You mentioned that your dog's name is Buster. Is that because
Buster.
of the Bronco Buster?
No, he came with that name. Yeah.
Oh wow.
You remember I had Lula, the little dog with the tongue hanging out and everything. Well, when she passed away, I was just devastated. It was like the worst moment of my life, man. I was just done. And I helped rescue dogs. I helped a lady with a dog rescue, and she hit me up and like, this dog's in trouble. And there was like this whole social media post, tearjerker, like, you know, sad music and everything. And, you know, the dog is blind and they need to get him out of the shelter. So I'm like, okay, bring him. It was a mess, man. He was blind, but we got his sight back. After like about a month, taking him to the doctor, we got his sight back, and he was real traumatized. We got like my wife, just amazing at like training dogs, and so she did a lot of work on him, man. He's just the ideal dog now, just happy dog. It's my best friend, it's my best buddy.
Do
It's the
you remember?
best,
Do
man.
you remember when you came up with the Bronco Buster?
Yeah. um, it was just in WCW, and I used to work with Hakushi. You remember him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, he would do that move to me, but without all that, extra stuff that I added to it. And so, he was gone, and like it wasn't coming back. So I was like, okay, I want to do that because I liked it. I thought it was a nice, simple move. And I was like, but my character, my persona, like, you know, it was right up my alley to add all that stuff. And that got banned in WCW for being lewd and lascivious.
Wow.
So I had to kind of, yeah.
And why
I
why
get
did you
it.
call it Bronco Buster?
I didn't. Somebody else started calling it that.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you know why?
yeah. I just because I could, busting a bronco like a horse.
Okay, I got it.
You know
Yeah.
how? Yeah.
It's another legendary part of your career, and I'll let you go in a moment. But I just wanted to ask you.
I'm good, man.
I appreciate it. You mentioned that chat that we had with Stone Cold last week, and one
Yeah.
thing that he said that caught some attention was, I asked him about this documentary series that they're doing where you could see behind the scenes the creative process, and he said, "Look, I'm old school. Like I don't want to know how the magic is done. I'm a Houdini fan. There are
Yeah.
certain things." Do you subscribe to that same theory, or do you like that the business is evolving to where we get to see this type of stuff?
I don't know, man. It's for me, it's a case by case thing. Sometimes I think it's too much. And like, I haven't seen any of this show they're talking about yet. I haven't even seen the trailer, honestly. So I mean, there's a good chance I could agree wholeheartedly with Steve. Um, like I don't know if I would have wanted, as a wrestling fan at a certain point, I would have loved all this stuff, but it changes you forever as a fan, once you see stuff like that. It makes it a little harder to go and watch it as a fan, like to watch the product and just, consume it as a fan, like without being, tainted or however you want to put it. So I get what Steve's saying.
One thing I've always appreciated about your style, obviously, is that there's a heavy martial arts influence to it.
Yeah.
I believe, like when you were a young kid, you used to practice Taekwondo, correct? You used to compete.
Yeah, Taekwondo.
And
I would do some like Taekwondo tournaments and like some open tournaments too, like those point tournaments, stuff like that. So
love that. And
that was the number one, man. Like honestly, being able it was Taekwondo, and like I did other stuff too, like Kyokushinkai and stuff later, but that's how I made it in wrestling, Ariel. Like if I didn't have that, that was my equalizer, That was like that helped me be able to work with big guys. I had offense they could sell. So, I mean, thank God for that.
No, 100%, and it looked very real. It didn't look like you were doing a parody of it. It was very authentic. And I see, just following you on social media, you appear to be a big MMA fan. In fact, I think you might be a huge Paddy Pimblett fan. I've seen you tweet about.
I am, yeah.
Is that your guy?
Yeah, he's one of them. I mean, like for the guys I follow now, and like he was a big DX fan when he was a kid too. So
wow,
that helps.
I love that.
But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's money.
So do you follow UFC regularly?
Not like, a hardcore fan. It's just so much going on.
Yeah.
Compared to when we were younger and like, in the 90s when UFC came out, and even like when some of those other ones came out, like it's still like you could follow it and well, I mean, everyone can still follow it. It's harder for me.
It's a lot. Yeah. I always say it's hard to jump on the treadmill. It's like going at 15 and to try to jump on there and know all the stories and the personalities. Same with wrestling, right? There's a lot of wrestling on TV. If you're trying to watch WWE, AEW, TNA, everything, the indies, there's Japan. You almost have to pick and choose at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and I only have so much bandwidth at this point in my life. Term that everyone uses these days.
Of course, yes, I know that. Obviously, Paul leading the charge, Sean leading the charge as far as NXT. I know Road Dogg involved backstage. Have you ever wanted to do that? Have you been asked to do that? Would you be interested in doing that, being an agent backstage recently?
I'm open to it. And, you know, in the future, like something might come up and like, I mean, cause even, you know, WWE or TKO, I'm sorry, just bought AAA,
Yeah.
you know, and I spent 4 years living in Mexico City and worked for AAA and, you know, being involved in like the creative process down there too at certain points. And, you know, so, there's things like that. There's a lot going on there, but honestly, man, like I said earlier, Ariel, I got a really good balance in my life right now. You know, as far as appearances, stuff with WWE, you know, and you know, hanging out with my dog. So, you know, I'm not saying it's not, you know, maybe in the future, but right now I'm good with how things are.
Even without talking to you, you give off the impression of someone who's very happy, very content, very at peace. Was there a point where you thought you would never reach this type of happiness, that this was unattainable?
Yeah. Yeah, there was, man. And it's just, because, you know, I used to beat myself up a lot, you know, because I was like, not to get too far into all that, but just you do things and you fail like people and you disappoint people. And like, you know, when you're messed up and, you know, like, I think decent, good people, like it bothers them when they know they damaged other people. And I carried a lot of that around with me for a long time. And like I've just, you know, in recent years been able to, you know, forgive myself for the, you know, for a lot of that. And it makes it much easier, man. Like just yeah, life is so much better.
When you go to WrestleMania and you're around, you know, the current wrestlers, the younger generation, do you feel
Yeah.
that respect and love from them?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so great. It's great. And you know, you work your ass off, you know, like all my life. And, just walking into WrestleMania, going backstage or whatever, and just like the respect from everyone, top to bottom, you know,
Amazing.
it means a lot, man. It means a lot to us, you know. You know, when we get a little older. Not that I'm like a old fart or anything,
No, I
but
know.
you know, as we get older, these things mean more.
Is there a name or two right now that you're really enjoying their work, that you're really, really high on? That the old you would have loved to, you know, have a feud with?
Wow. I'm a big Damian Priest fan. Like I kind of helped mentor him a little bit, so I'm always going to mention him. Man, there's a lot of guys in there. Jacob Fatu, I'm real high on. Like I would have had great matches with him. Like because I was a good David and Goliath guy. You know, I could do that really well. Like for the women, man, like Io Sky's amazing. Bianca Belair, it's just a total package to me, honestly. So and it's just hard, man, because I don't want to leave a bunch of people out that are amazing and incredibly talented, but they stick out to me.
Can I tell you someone who's like under the radar right now, maybe not, certainly not online, who's doing incredible stuff? Karrion Kross. I really love, I don't know if you've seen any
for sure.
his videos that he's been posting on social. Brilliant. I love when guys just say, you know what, I'm just going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to try to control my own destiny. Maybe I'm not getting the shine or the opportunities on television, but there are other ways to get over. I think he's doing this wonderfully.
Yeah, you go like if they're not, do what you got to do, man. Like it reminds me of Matt Cardona when he was doing like Zack Ryder and like doing those little like, you know, shooting his own angles and like putting stuff online, his own little talk shows or whatever. It's vignettes and everything, getting yourself over. And you know, I could see a guy like Karrion Kross being frustrated and like feeling like, you know, he's got all this talent, like a hell of a look, and just, you know, hey man, like I'm right here, man. You know, give him the ball, let him see how far he runs with it.
Well, this has been wonderful, Sean. Thank you. I really, really appreciate the time again. I know you don't do a lot of these, so we greatly appreciate it. And I understand you have an appearance this weekend, I think in Lodi, right?
Yeah, Lodi Comic-Con in Lodi. Yeah, I have a new Funko.
Oh, you got a new Funko? Oh, yeah.
I waited. I was on them for 5 years for this Funko Pop. Finally, they made one for me.
Oh man, that's a nice looking one. That's a nice looking one. And I saw there's a new 1-2-3 Kid figurine that came out recently.
Figurine, yeah.
Look at that one.
Yeah, with the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So I'm,
tremendous one.
like, look at man, like I'm an old retired dude. Like, the, I got these kind of things coming out all the time, and I'm just, you know, life is great. So, and I appreciate you having me on your show, Ariel.
Of
It means a
course,
lot. I don't do a lot of these because I don't like, getting up in the morning, looking at my phone and seeing X-Pac said this or like,
I get it.
so I don't do it a lot. It's why I quit doing my show.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay. Well,
all right.
I hope you've
Yeah.
enjoyed this, and it
I
has meant a lot to us.
immensely.
And it's been like just an absolute pleasure watching you and watching you over the last few years get to this place because it was, like I said, a little scary there. So much
It
love to
was.
you. Congratulations on an incredible career. And again, thank you for the time today. Just amazing to see you in this state. It's really, really nice to see.
Thank you so much, Ariel. I really appreciate you, man.
All right. All the best
Take
to
care.
you. There he is, the great Sean Waltman, formerly known as 123 Kid, formerly known as X-Pac 6. What a guy. What a legend. And appears to be in great spirits. Had a recent health scare, but all good, it seems like. And love to see that because there are far too many sad stories, horrible stories in the world of pro wrestling. I once worked on a story for Real Sports about wrestlers dying young. So I'm really happy to see him in this state because if you look at some of the old headlines from about 10, 12 years ago, no one could have predicted this, including himself. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.